What's going on with y'all? This is your boy Chris, man. I'm rocking with y'all. We're gonna do 4 different segments today. I told y'all the webcast was coming. I told you it was coming. 3 blogs came in the morning, and the webcast is now. This is the NFL segment. This is part 1 of 4 that we're going to do. It's going to be a 5 to 10 minute segment that I'm going to talk about the NFL and different things that I want to touch up on the NFL. I definitely want to touch up on the free agency. Josh Norman going to the Redskins, big time move by them. Olivier Vernon going to the New York Giants. That's a big time move by them. Brock Osweiler going to the Houston Texans. That's a big time move by them. 3 big moves that impacts teams, without question. Mark Sanchez heading from Philadelphia to the Denver Broncos. They needed quarterbacks by losing 2 of them, Peyton to retirement, and also Brock to the Houston Texans. The Pittsburgh Steelers was a prime team coming into this season to run the table and be able to get to the Super Bowl, with Martavius Bryant being suspended the whole year and Le'Veon Bell possibly facing a 4-game suspension. That's not going to look very good. I think Pittsburgh needs to have that number 2 or 1 seed to be able to get to where they got to go, because I don't see them being a team that can go on the road and win in a hostile environment like a New England and such. Brady facing his 4-game suspension. Not as bad as people may think. They probably will lose week 1 versus Arizona on the Sunday night prime game at Arizona, but the other 3 games are in Foxborough. 2 of those 3 games are versus division opponents in the Bills and the Dolphins, 2 teams that they've owned in the AFC East, which happens to also be my division winner for the AFC East. It's the New England Patriots. I see them winning at least 11 to 12 games. Once they get Brady back in week 5, they can possibly run the table. They're going to run into a couple teams that might knock them off, but not many. And that's what I said, the New England Patriots are going to win that. You also have to factor in the Pittsburgh Steelers and Ravens and Cincy and Cleveland in the AFC North. I had Pittsburgh as a shoo-in to win the AFC North prior to these suspensions. Now, a little bit up in the air. Cincinnati is the team that won that division last year, but with them losing 2 of their wideouts, and Mohamed Sanu to the Falcons, Marvin Jones to the Detroit Lions, also losing their offensive coordinator to the rival Cleveland Browns as a head coach, they're losing pieces. They got Brandon LaFell, but Brandon LaFell is somebody who hasn't proven himself to be a legitimate number 2 receiver. Tom Brady made him better than what he really was, because he was in Carolina and he wasn't that good. He went to New England. Tom Brady made him pretty good. Now it's Andy Dalton's turn. How can Andy Dalton help him progress as a wide receiver? Because A.J. Green is going to need help. Tyler Eifert's going to need help. Brandon LaFell can be that guy. They also have probably the best running game of the 1-2 combo in that division with Jeremy Hill and Giovanni Bernard. I think it's going to be an exciting division, but I do think Pittsburgh wins it. I think the first team that gets to 10 is going to win that division, without question. Then you have the AFC South, the most intriguing division, probably in the AFC, in my opinion, because you have the Houston Texans and you have the Indianapolis Colts. Luck just signed a huge deal in the offseason. You're going to want to be able to get people around him to protect them. Last year, the Colts couldn't protect Luck, and he got hit and hurt often. And that was a makeshift team of bringing a lot of veterans and aging veterans on that team, and it wasn't able to work out. Now you have a Colts team that is primed. Luck is ready. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league when protected. It's going to be interesting to see. I'll be at the San Diego-Indianapolis game, actually September 25th. I'll be down there, so definitely I have a chance to see how good this kid is live in person. It'll be great to watch and great to see. I also think, though, however, I do think that the Houston Texans will win this division. I think they got a strong defense. They got the best defense in that division behind their leader, J.J. Watt. They also have the quarterback that they've wanted. Brock Osweiler being 6'8", having a connection with DeAndre Hopkins, Cecil Shorts. They have 2 good tight ends in Graham. They also have a solid offensive line. Lamar Miller is the running back up there at the Houston Texans. No longer Arian Foster, He's in Miami now. So now you have Lamar Miller, have a good running game, solid quarterback that can throw the ball and push the ball down the field. You have a good defense. Just don't do anything spectacular to give the game away. Houston will be in every single game with the defense that they have. No doubt about it. Brock Osweiler just has to make a few plays, and he's shown that he can do that in Denver with two pretty good wide receivers in themselves, and Emmanuel Sanders and Demaryius Thomas, and also with a decent tight end as well, with Vernon Davis, and also they had Virgil Green, I believe. Let's move on. Then you have the AFC West. The AFC West, this is an intriguing division. I'm a Chargers fan. I mean, I bleed yellow, blue, and white. I bleed it, and even baby blue. You cut me, I probably bleed baby blue because that's my city. I love San Diego, but I got to keep it 100 on this webcast. I do think the Denver Broncos, the Oakland Raiders, and Kansas City Chiefs are better teams than the San Diego Chargers. The Denver Broncos have the best defense in that division, no doubt about it. They're probably comparable to what the Houston defense is, 1-1. Although Denver did lose a lot of pieces, losing Malik Jackson, losing Danny Trevathan. Losing those two guys were very key. And anytime that you win a Super Bowl, it's always tough to keep everybody because free agency hits your team, and now you have to revamp your team. Losing two quarterbacks hurts that team. Mark Sanchez and Trevor Siemian, they did not think that they were rolling into the season with them, but now they have. They have to roll into the season with them. They got two dynamic receivers, including Benny Fowler, who's a really good third receiver. They're going to rely on their defense. The no-fly zone, Wade Phillips and his schemes, they're going to rely on their defense to be able to get the job done. I like Oakland and Derek Carr. I do think Derek Carr is the best quarterback in that division. I love Phillip Rivers. I really do. But Derek Carr is coming, and he's emerging as a really, really good quarterback. And he has Crabtree and Amari Cooper. They have a solid defense as well. It's just the maturity part for the Raiders. Can they get over the hump of being mature? They've always been the cellar of this division, the dungeon of this team. Can Jack Del Rio insert his mindset and philosophy into these guys and be able to get them over the hump to compete for this division? Because the first team that gets to about 8 or 9 games is going to win this division. That's without question. This division will not have the number 1 seed. That I can guarantee. It won't have the number 1 seed coming out of the AFC West. Kansas City's another team. You know what Alex Smith brings you. You really do. You know. Will you get the same Jamal Charles? He's 30 years old now. But you also have Shaquandrick West backing him up. He doesn't need to have the wear and tear. You have a deep threat in Jeremy Maclin. You have a great tight end in Kelsey. You have good pieces around him. You also have a great defense in Houston and Holly. You have Poe in the middle. You have Eric Berry, the comeback player of the year, as he won the ESPY Award. You know what you have in Kansas City. Now it's about taking it to the next level. You know Alex Smith's not going to turn over the ball, but he's also not going to be spectacular either. Sometimes you need that in certain games. And I always say with Super Bowl kind of players, you need to have a differentiality when it comes to winning games. You can't win the same way all the time. It's just impossible to do. It's impossible to win all the time in the same way. It really is. So I think Denver comes out of that division. I think Pittsburgh comes out of the North. I think Houston comes out of the South. I think New England comes out of the East. Let's revert over to the NFC. The NFC? The NFC East, like I said. I love the NFC East. I love Washington coming out of that division. I love Green Bay coming out of the North. I love Carolina coming out of the South. And I love Arizona coming out of the West. Let me explain why for each division. You have Washington Redskins adding their secondary is going to be top-notch with Norman, Breland, and Hall all in the starting lineup in their secondary. All ball hawkers, and Breland's really coming on strong. No doubt about it. Their problem is going to be pass rush. Can they get to the quarterback? Who knows? Because Ryan Kerrigan has been unable to stay healthy for that team and be a dominant force he needs to be is getting to the quarterback. That's where it's going to come down to defensively. You look at a team like the Green Bay Packers. Rodgers is getting older, but he's still the best quarterback in the league. Can make every throw without question. One of the better quarterbacks in the league, if not the best, in my opinion. He gets Jordy Nelson back, slides Cobb back into his position. You have Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams needs to mature a little bit, stop dropping passes. You have Corliss and Richard Rodgers at tight end. You also have Ty Montgomery. They have a slew of wide receivers. You have a slim down Eddie Lacy and a James Starks that's going to be on the offense side of the ball. The main thing is protecting Rodgers. They had trouble doing that against the Cardinals team that they played against in the NFC divisional playoffs. They couldn't protect Aaron Rodgers. I mean, they just hit Aaron Rodgers every which way. And there were teams that were beating him up. And versus the good teams, the Arizonas, the Carolinas, you are going to have to beat those teams. And the Seattles. You have to show that you can beat them. And the one way that you do is protecting your quarterback. Another thing that's going to be interesting about Green Bay is defensively. Their stars are getting older on the defensive side of the ball. I like Ha Clinton Dix. I do like Julius Peppers. I like Clay Matthews. But they are getting older. And you don't have a lot of playmakers on this side of the ball. You have to develop some playmakers. The Mike Daniels, the B.J. Raji's. Raji's taking time off. He won't be there next year. So, but you do have Mike Daniels. You have to get some playmakers on that defensive side of the ball. And you got to get some corners that can cover as well, because they're going to need help from the defense. Aaron Rodgers, for years, has been carrying this team with an average defense. It's about time that they start supporting Aaron Rodgers, because he's getting up there in age and wasting his prime years. Hasn't been back to a Super Bowl in 6 years. Come on now. That's just uncalled for one of the better players in the college, and one of the better players, in the National Football League. Then you look at the Carolina Panthers. They only lost 2 games last year. And one of the games that they lost, the only team to beat them in the NFC, it was the Atlanta Falcons, where I currently reside, in Atlanta, Georgia. So, the Carolina Panthers losing Norman hurts, because now they don't have the shutdown corner for half of the field. Losing Peanut Tillman hurts, because they retired. But now what you have to do is you have to center your defense around a front 7. You have to be able to say, okay, listen, front 7, I need you to play even better than what you played last year. Cam Newton, I need you to be even more efficient than you was last year. Getting Kelvin Benjamin back would help. And that's a big-time target. He's a big-time guy with blazing speed, can get out of cuts and routes, and he's 6'5". Not many corners are going to be able to match up with him one-on-one. Then you have Olsen running down the middle, and you got Newton, who's also 6'5", 6'6", and can run the football. He's in his prime. I mean, Carolina's going to be an absolute scary team, no doubt about it. Don't think they'll run the table as the 15-1 like they did last year, but I do think that they will still win the NFC South over the other contenders. As I said in my blog, which, by the way, plug, you can definitely check out my blogs on WordPress.com. I have 3 different blogs up right now for the college football, for the NFL, and for the NBA. Check them out. My username is Buckets23. Check it out on WordPress.com. Buckets23 is the name. Back to the last division before we wrap this segment up. We're going to talk about the NFC West. 2 teams have really ruled that division over the past few seasons. It's been Arizona and it's been Seattle. Prior to that, it was Seattle and San Francisco. Seattle has been the constant, but because of, once again, players retiring, because of free agents leaving to go to other teams. Free agency, when you win the Super Bowl, it's tough to repeat in this day and age. And you also have contract disputes. People are getting money, they're wondering where their money is. And I understand, you want to get paid. But when that comes about, it causes distractions, it causes the team not to be fully connected or together at certain points of the season, and also produces bad football at times. Seattle has went through that wave. Arizona is on the come up. It's been on the come up. Adding a Chandler Jones from the New England Patriots helps them tremendously with their pass rush and their defense. I do like their defense. But when Tyrann Mathieu went down late in the season, their defense was not the same. They got torched in the secondary. Outside of Patrick Peterson, who's a stud of a corner, he didn't have anybody else riding with him on that secondary. And they did not have the pass rush that they needed to get after the quarterback, because they were facing top-notch quarterbacks and teams. Arizona's going to be in the mix again. That's why they added Chandler Jones. And you also getting a David Johnson, who's no longer a rookie. He was spectacular down the stretch, and I think he'll be that again. If you keep Carson Palmer upright, Arizona's going to have a wonderful chance of making it to the big dance this year. Well, y'all, that's the end of segment number 1. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you liked it. I'll be posting this on YouTube, and get ready for part 2. It's coming soon.